Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We're going to get going because we have a nice full agenda, and it's wonderful to see everybody here tonight, especially on a school night. It's the last school night for the year for Warren County Schools, so thank you for coming out. What I hope for you to take away from today's public forum is that you leave here with answers to all your questions. If we don't get to them tonight, contact us, come back. We're all about answering any and all questions. And we want you to take away a confirmation that Samuels Public Library is here to stay. Four, we have built this library together as a community since 1799. Donation by donation, this is Colleen's words, volunteer hour by volunteer hour, and brick by brick. Our families have built Samuels together for our children and for each other, for the betterment of this community. And in the past 50 years, as partners with the town and county leaders. Despite recent comments that the library is a monopoly or a vendor, it is not. It is a community institution. It's a partnership that belongs to all of us here in Warren County, by the people and for the people. The trustees are but stewards for what you and our predecessors have built. We will not stand by while four supervisors who appear to have a personal vendetta and a vocal minority representing just 1.25% of the population, trying to assume a moral high ground for the rest of us. They are trying to tear down what this community has built together. The current situation was created out of thin air, in secret, and with no input from the library, and with no valid reason that anyone can understand. That's not democracy. It is unjustified, yet here we are. We've tried to be reasonable and leave room, even if it's just a minute bit of room, for the hope of a resolution. But now it's all out in the open. We are resolute and we're prepared for the legal battles that are probably ahead. Make no mistake, and if you leave here with just one point, be confident that the staff and my fellow trustees are dedicated to exploring all options to do everything within their power to safeguard this library, this community treasure that we've built together. Through the past 2.5 years of controversy, 2.5 years, folks, the library has not missed a beat. The staff continues to provide excellent service with a smile on their face despite the uncertainties. It's clear that they love what they do and are mission-driven. They are the heart of Samuels Library. I said I wouldn't.
Don't make me come up there.
I know. They're my heroes. So, my friends, do not give in to rumor. Do not give in to fear. This is a time for all of us to stand up and fight back, arm in arm, against injustice. You are doing that. Y'all are mad. I am humbled by your letters to the editor, your posts, your notes of encouragement to the staff that approach the fight from all different angles and give us so many things to think about. And you write so eloquently. Kara, Bill, Samantha, Lynn, Anne, Anna, multiple Johns, Angie, Sydney, Tim, Chris, Jared, Kevin, Kelly, George, Bethany, Catherine, and recently Clara. It takes all of us, and they weren't counting on that. We read everything. You are the backbone of this community. You are the ones out there fighting, voting. Now more than ever, you need to be doing your research and get out there and vote in the primary. It's critical. You are my personal inspiration. I could hear my devout Catholic daughter-in-law speaking in the words Clara wrote. I heard Vanessa's voice. An appeal for the best in all of us. The quote from John 13:35. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Please let us bring kindness back to this community. And regardless of their education, occupation, race, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. These words just happen to be what a public library is all about. A place for everyone. We follow the rule of law. The law is on our side, and we will prevail. We will protect this library, and when the dust settles, they'll know this community doesn't back down. We are here to stay. One day I'll figure this out. Okay. So I'm sure you have lots of questions. The hot topic at the moment seems to be what's going on with this FOIA business. We received the FOIA request was sent to Aaron, 10 of them. They're along the top.
Wow.
And if you get a moment to read them, you'll understand what the $10,000 cost of fulfilling this FOIA is all about. But when we first got the FOIA, you'll note that they're not signed, this top row, they're not signed, and there's a blank line for the cost estimate, not filled in. So we politely sent it back to the county, cited this particular code right here, saying that we need someone to sign these, we need to have an anticipated amount, and that we needed someone that we could negotiate with, because clearly that's more work that cannot be accomplished in 12 days. So it was going to involve negotiation with someone. So who is the citizen that is making this request that we can negotiate with and talk to back and forth? So a little time went by, and then it came up before a Board of Supervisor meeting, and they voted to go ahead with sending the FOIA request to us. So round 2 comes, and they all come on letterhead from the county. So now these are FOIA requests from the county. So you can read right here that all public records shall be open to citizens of the Commonwealth, representatives of newspapers and magazines with circulation in the Commonwealth, and representatives of radio and television station broadcasting in or into the Commonwealth. So our attorney tells us that the county is a component of the sovereign. So the county is not a citizen. So not that we're not willing to do these FOIA requests. We clearly spent a lot of thoughtful time in sitting down and saying, all right, what will this take? How many hours will this take? Who needs to see it and approve it before it goes out? A lot of research. So some of these items go back to 2005. So you're talking almost 20 years for a lot of these documents. Do we even have them? Where are they? They're not all digital. That only happened in the last, 10 years or so. They're in a box. They're in storage. Do we even have it? It's going to take research to do that. Eileen, as our Director of Operations, is really the only one with the history to answer these questions that go back to Villa Avenue, that go back to the beginning of this building. How much time can we expect to pull Eileen away from her duties to fulfill this request? This isn't an all-day thing. We have a library to run. So we sat down, Aaron, Eileen, and I, and went over all this. They're going to need to go to the lawyer to look at before they go out under the current climate and under the situation. And then the ones that involve furniture, we need our accountant to weigh in, because the furniture issues are on our books. All the assets are ours. They show up on our audit, and then the accountant has the depreciation schedule. If you've worked with auditors before, the depreciation schedule is residing at the accountant's firm. But they're insured. They were bought by us. They were sold by us. They were given away by us. We own them. There's just no doubt in any of this. So we're going to need the auditor to weigh in and say, here's your record of all the furniture that you bought. That's going to cost. That's over and above what our audit is planned for. So that's an additional expense. So yes, it involves 100 hours of work for all of these, and that stretches out to about 3 months, and at a cost of $10,000 when you add in professional time on top of Eileen's time. So does anybody have any questions about the FOIA?
I'm just curious, when you do a FOIA request, is it only the staff of the custodian of the records who have to do it?
So we'll do the request. Eileen will put together the documentation. Our library director will look it over. In some cases, we'll send it on to the lawyer to look over before it's released, and in other cases, we'll call in the auditor to make.
The library staff is responsible for all of this.
Yeah, whoever. Right. So it's sitting on QuickBooks if we're lucky. It's a manual receipt if we're not.
Well, some of the FOIA requests are asking for paper receipts too.
Yeah.
In addition to.
Right.
It's in the accounting documents.
And then you have to. So we've been accused of it being a technicality. Narrow or otherwise, the county, not an individual, made the request, and the rejection of that forces it into the public sphere. So now we're all talking about this. And the fact that the county would be spending significant taxpayer dollars. So is this really what we want our taxpayer dollars going to when the assets are clearly a bit on the books and have been on the books for years and years and years? It shows, I just don't know what else to say about the assets. It's like,
Well, part of the
they're
problem
ours.
in all this too is, I'm sorry, but the county has a lot of this information in their own records.
Thank you. That's, yeah.
They're just not willing to go digging.
Right. So.
They cut the checks for the building.
Right. They're looking for the check that that we got in order from the $1 million, and then and the next year another $1 million. They're looking for that receipt for that when they wrote the check. So that's kind of a head scratcher. Like, you have these documents. Why are you asking us for this? A lot, and I invite you to read these because I don't want to read them to you. That'll just take too long. But it's hours and hours and hours of work. And then, how long is the lease? I think everybody who's been paying attention knows that we have 14 more years on this lease. So we can say with confidence, and Michelle, our treasurer, will go into the financial situation, but we have 14 years on the lease, we own all the assets, and we have the money to stay alive. So we're here, and we're not going anywhere. So come July 1, come and renew your library card. Come visit us. Circulation would love that. While we're talking about assets, just a quick heads up. Technology, we have this extensive technology schedule. I'd like to introduce you to Jessica Sayers, our one-person IT department. So this week we went over what is it that we have to buy this year in order to stay current, in order to provide the excellent service that we give to all of you. These are the items. The server, you have to keep the server up. We have to protect your data. We have to have firewalls. We have to have Ethernet equipment. Half of this stuff none of us really understands. What the heck is a NAS data backup system? I had to get her to explain that to me. Well,
I can help.
Louis can help. He knows these things. This is why we have a diverse board. So when we get into a conversation, he can be like, I can tell you that. But the public needs, we need 10 new computers. So they're on a rotating schedule. Every so many years, you put your computers back out and sell them in fossil, and you get new ones because you don't want to work with a 5-year-old computer. You don't want to work with an old operating system. Last night we heard that the county had an operating system back to 2002. I mean, come on, you know, if it's Windows 11, we're in trouble.
That's what we're on.
We're on 11.
We're on 11.
We're on 11. This is why I'm not in IT. But software, you can see here, software, antivirus, monitors, hotspots. We loan out hotspots at the circulation desk, and you have to pay for the service that supports that, the licenses. Our website app to SPL to go. You can read all this. This is just the technology for this year. Next year, a new set of 5-year will hit. Following year, a new set of 5-year needs will hit. This year, the total for technology is approximately $56,570. I don't remember seeing anything about that in the RFP bid. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to, oh, any questions? More questions, Colleen?
Has the county initiated any kind of eviction process with the library? I know there's a process of so many days, they have to notify you, and then there's another set of days, and so has any kind of process like that been initiated with the library?
You've not received anything, and so at the moment, no, not to my
Yeah.
knowledge.
This goes back to the fact that the county has not talked to us in a year and a half. We have not had an email on letterhead telling us about the maintenance agreement. We have not had an email telling us they didn't renew the MOA. We had to sit at a public hearing to find out that we were no longer going to be having an automatic renewal for our MOA. We've had, other than October 29th, when they called us to the table, we've had zero communication. And this is really unusual. This is out of the norm. We've had years and years and years. We've had excellent communication with all of our county representatives, negotiating, you know, we can't afford to give you that much this year. Okay, we'll make it work. People Cheryl's sitting on our board right now. She knows what's happening at the library. We try to, you know, have real good relations in what's happening at the county level. What do you need from us? Tell us, you know. You can't accuse us of not producing something when you don't tell us that you need it. So tell us what you want, and we'll negotiate that, and we're happy to comply. We're here for the county, and just tell us what you want. Don't go in silence and then accuse us of things. We will not be smeared. This is an excellent library. You will not smear this library. That's part of the problem. We don't know. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what they're up to. We don't know if it's an eviction notice or one day we'll come and the doors are locked. It's just not professional to have go all these years, 50 years, 60 years or more, and all of a sudden your partnership is broken. And we didn't do anything to break this partnership. This was inflicted on us. So
The county likes to use the buzzword transparency. I think they need to look it up in the dictionary.
transparency, all of the information that they have that they're using, you can find on our website. But how you interpret that and take it and twist it, but it's there. If you want it, it's there. If you can't find it, call us.
Absolutely.
Accountability should be the performance measurements of an institution. When you're in a public-private partnership, you give money and you expect service in return. And you want to see the performance. So whether You know, whether it's somebody striping the lines on your parking lot. If you all noticed, we have new lines in our parking lot. You pay and you want a performance. That doesn't mean you go in and tell them what machines to buy or how to run their business or how much paint to buy, where to buy their paint. You don't micromanage that organization. You work with them and you evaluate the performance measurements on the other end. And our performance measurements are outstanding and award-winning. So I need to stop and let other people, any other questions? Don't get me started. Samantha.
I just had a quick question. So you said there's been no communication via email or anything between you and the board. For how long was it?
Since the beginning of '24, when they started this behind-the-scenes
Okay, so
research and debrief project.
everybody's been talking about what they have been requesting of you, but they haven't actually been requesting anything as far as I've seen, except the itemized budget that was requested at the end of last year, correct?
When we have to go in front of the board twice a year, and Erin does her report, and then in December, we do our budget forum that we've done every year for umpteen years. And at that point, Vicki had asked for a little bit more clarity in itemized. So we have a budget now that it's color-coded, what the county money goes for, and what the state money goes for, and it's pretty clear. If you can read a budget, it's pretty standard. It's accounting practices. You know, there's line items for everything. So, any other
I just
questions?
wanted to clarify, but that was what they
Yeah,
asked for. I've seen the itemized budget. It's very easy to find.
Yeah, and then one of the supervisors asked for donations or things like that. So when they ask for things, we comply.
Turn it around as
Yeah.
fast as we can.
Yeah.
I will say there hasn't been any major, there has been a couple of small things, like when they did the RFP, just like, hey, here's the link to the RFP, that was about it.
And they
From
send
the
the partner
administrative office.
agency
Yeah.
document.
That came from the administrative office, yeah.
Well, I did get a correction from Mr. Jamison from one of his Board of Supervisors about the cost per capita or something like that. He was just correcting himself.
Okay, any other questions for me at this point? All right, let's turn it over to Erin.
So one of the questions we've been getting asked a lot is, so why didn't you bid on the RFP? Well, the way in which the county's RFP was written, it kind of excluded the possibility of us submitting a bid. It was written for a management company in mind, and we're not a management company. You guys been hearing that nonstop. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. It inferred that assets used by said company would be owned by Warren County, and as per the recommendation to go into negotiations with the company LS&S from the Warren County Library Board, and I believe it was the April 29th special meeting, it is expected said company would function out of our current building. Several problems with that, of course, as we have stated time and time again. We have a 30-year lease, and the county does not own our assets. We own our assets. We're not a vendor. We are a 501c3 nonprofit library that is the public library for Warren County. So to kind of go into that difference, we have a public-private partnership, not a vendor. So what comes with that? We already have established staff that some of us have been here for years. We know what we're doing, we love what we're doing, and we love this community. We're governed by an amazing 15-member board of trustees, all community volunteers, representatives from all districts, and a variety of skills. They're absolutely amazing. They all bring something new to the board. We already have a comprehensive collection, technology, program services. You probably have heard me talk that up constantly on different platforms, including when we actually go to the county for 6-month review. We have, as a 501c3 nonprofit, we have great opportunities for additional grants, additional fundraising. We fundraise like crazy. Thank you all for attending our Taste for Books event. It was fantastic, and we all had a blast with that. We also get additional funding through the state with federal aid, our other donations, as well as 3% off of our endowment. We have a robust volunteer program that offers additional savings because I can't stress enough how much we absolutely love our volunteers, and I don't know what we would do without them. They really are a boon to this community and to the library, and being able to help us expand our services by helping us with things such as helping us do programs, helping us do putting books on the shelves, and it allows staff to be able to do additional programs that we wouldn't be able to do if we were focused on other tasks. And of course, our community partnerships that we've developed over decades. We have tons of partnerships, a lot of other local organizations that are fantastic that help offer free services to the community. So on the other side, you have a for-profit management company. So that currently is LS&S. They are the only library management company in the country. I'm not going to go and bash them. It's just everything is situational. They are currently based in Texas and Maryland. And again, they're for-profit, so they have a profit margin that goes out of Warren County. That is theirs. They are for-profit. They are managing only, so they come in with managing what the county currently owns. And the only example that we currently have is Manassas City Park. That is the only current running library in Virginia that is run by LS&S. That was a completely different scenario. Manassas City Park ended up breaking away from the county. They became their own municipality, and they did not have a branch already established for the county system, so they had to start from scratch. They had nothing. So LS&S came in to manage that, but the municipality had to pay for everything. They had to pay for a new building, they had to pay for a new collection. And again, we have a lease, we own our assets. So yeah, they don't come with anything. That's no guarantee for current employees, can't guarantee volunteers, donations to provide for extra services. Again, not a lot of people want to donate to a for-profit company. Again, as a for-profit, that less opportunity for grant. We've applied for state aid, so it's not like they can just come in and get state aid. Again, we have our endowment. They can't get that endowment money. They can go and try and do community partnerships and other things like that. You can't guarantee those organizations are going to want to work with them. We already have these established partnerships going back decades. And again, we have our collection, and the most important thing, especially for me, they're not foiable. They are a for-profit institution, so what you're going to get is what they give the county as far as reporting and other things, but they're not required to give certain things unless it's in their contract. So that for-profit margin, you don't get to know anything about that unless they give it. So yeah. Any specific questions?
I guess, do we know anybody who works for them? Do we have any contacts with them?
I have not been in contact with LS&S. I do not currently have anybody, any contacts or anything like that, but they do have contact information on their main website as well as the other libraries, I'm assuming. Yes.
And I know, I did look into them a little bit. I know they're even part of a larger, like they're Evergreen something or other. So there's an even bigger corporation.
Yes, they're a
that
subsidiary
under.
for a larger company as well,
Based in
yes.
California, so
Yep.
it's not even in the envelope line.
Yeah, I think there was a buyout at one point several years back. But again, LS&S, again, they come in, they manage things. So libraries in general, we always see possible issues with, or questions that come about when the talk of privatization comes in. And what I mean by privatization is for-profit companies coming in to take over the work. Things like a quality of service that you're going to get for the money coming in because there's that for-profit margin, as well as how much you're actually going to get of a community focus. Again, they say things, but you don't, until you actually have it come in, you don't get to see the actual results of that. So some things may be centralized, such as, because they have their own specialists like marketing and finance and things that are done at the home office. They're not necessarily done local. So you start to lose some of that local focus for your public library. Yes?
Do you have any idea how much it cost Manassas Park to build from the ground up?
I do not have that information offhand, I'm sorry. I can find it though.
14,000.
Was it
It's small, it's only 14,000 people, too.
Yeah, 14,000 people for population, so that is significantly smaller compared to the 40,000 that we have here in Warren County.
Do we know if that bid will be public? Will we see it?
As far as FOIA is concerned, I believe that information becomes public once the contract has been awarded. Because you don't want the bidders to start fighting themselves and that type of thing, so it's to help with
There are
negotiation.
no bidders, there's a bidder.
Yes. But as far as I'm aware, under FOIA, it's after something's awarded, then it all becomes part of the, available through FOIA.
How much is this costing the taxpayer?
How much is it costing the taxpayers? The struggle or LS&S?
The whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah.
Well, we'll go into specifics as far as the differences in what our budget is, what's been,
Slide on that.
yeah, part of the bid. I believe someone had put in a FOIA request back in the fall. It was like 16,000 currently for legal, but that's probably have changed. But I mean, it's staff time. It's
Potential cost
Yeah.
is gonna be millions.
Aaron, and Melanie, it might be useful for people to understand what the startup costs would be for a private management company to get up and running. The county would have to acquire a collection. What's the value of our collection? And what would be the projected startup costs in addition to the $10 to $15 million 10-year contract agreement that was proposed to the county?
That is true. So like I said, we do have our assets and we do have a lease with we have a lease with this building. So if LS&S were to come in, they have to essentially start from scratch. The county would have to provide them with the building, and then yes, they would have to basically build a collection from scratch. So I'm trying to remember what ours
I think you
was.
could I'm just gonna throw a number at the wall. I would say you'd be in between collection and equipment, computers, the furniture, all that. You'd be in the 4 to 5 million range.
So yes, Eileen said about 4 to 5 million range as far as collection and furnishings as well. Possibly more than that.
Yeah, way more. Okay, I can't sit down. So the books alone, 140,000 books at maybe 30 each, you're looking at millions there. We just looked at 1/5 of the technology budget at 576,000, right? You've got all kinds of licenses, security, cameras, the building itself, the furniture that you sit on, the computer banks, the children's toys. You're talking millions, and that's not even touching the building. So just the internal assets are huge. Does that help? Okay. So we're looking at millions if they tried to do this. Cheryl?
I just Googled, I'm gonna ask this part, and it sounds like they built the new City Hall library. I don't know if it's a combination, but it says it was a $46 million project. $16 million was the City Hall side, and $500,000 for furniture and shelving.
Wow. It's not cheap, especially in this economy.
And if they're for profit, do they need to report, line item by line item? So the financial oversight.
I'm assuming it's by their contract,
It's
but
dictated through the contract. They don't.
So they just hand over the money then
Hello?
and don't ask questions.
Right.
I'm curious if there's books in the collection here that are basically irreplaceable because of historical, the fact that this library reflects this particular place, and that this company appears to just be sort of like the Walmart of library vendors, that there could be compelling argument just to be made on the basis that we may have books here that are particular to Warren County.
we do have a Virginia history room, which does have books that are specific to our locality. They are hard to get because they're no longer in publication, so it would depend on how LS&S does their collection development and what they have access to as a vendor, because I don't know what their contracts are and who they actually get their books from. But yeah, it depends, and we pride ourselves in being a library for our community, so we take into account what our community is asking for as far as collections. If there's specific areas where we're lacking in, we try and get updated information on that, but also too, there are some other, every locality is different. So like, for instance, even, we're gonna have books that Manassas City Park has, we're gonna have some that they have that we don't have, just because that's what that location is looking for, and it's not, no one wants to check it out here, it's vice versa. So we pride ourselves in being a library, again, for our community.
There are a lot of articles out there about LS&S and some of the libraries that have had a lot of difficulty with them. And one of the statements for one of the libraries, actually I think there were a couple, that were having difficulty getting financial information from them because they said it was proprietary information. This RFP that they put out says on there that if it is proprietary information and they disclose that as proprietary information, they will not turn that information over. That is in the RFP that they replied to. So
Yes.
they're not disclosing where funds are going, even though they have to turn over certain receipts and that kind of stuff. But in terms of the profit, they won't disclose that.
I know that some of the conversation started around collection development in the beginning. Since they're doing no curated collections, has any guidance or any advertisement, and this might be a question for the room, is there any idea of what the collection looks like and how much the community would have a say in what is supported and what is not supported in that?
Again, I believe it would be depending on the contract that they would to be able to make. I can't speak for them specifically, but it is a concern that comes up a lot with privatization of libraries.
I do know that they purchase in large volume, and that's one of their cost savings, so they don't cater to the public. Some of the libraries, there's one out in California, that they have a large Spanish population, and most of the books that they ordered do not cater to their community, so they were having difficulty getting specific books for their community. So they do these large purchase, which is so much cheaper. So they have a lot of, it's not particular to the library itself. They do these mass purchase, and then the collections go into the library that way.
Question, are you going to talk about the lease? Because at a later point, or is it appropriate to ask a question now about the lease?
We can answer a question for that, sure.
Well, I'm wondering if you have a lease.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You have a lease.
We have a 30-year lease for this building. Yes.
And they presumably have to break the lease,
That's correct.
right?
They're
So-
looking for ways
Yeah. So do we know
to break the
what
lease.
the criteria would be to break the lease?
We would have to do something illegal. Or not.
Are you promising?
Yeah, or not function as a public library.
As a library.
Okay.
But we have fully intend to function as a public library.
And I don't plan on doing anything.
So I'm envisaging a standoff where the sheriffs are outside and
Exactly.
they, whoever they are saying, this is our building, and you're there saying this is our building.
That happens.
What happens then?
You go to court.
We go to court.
All the moms will just camp out.
Well, it is their building.
Samantha, and I think I have someone back here as well. Yes.
So you're saying, so I think obviously, especially with those numbers that we just heard, that it's clear that the county is going to go after the assets. And you're saying if you come and the building's locked, that the only recourse is legal?
Legal.
Like there's nothing we can do to, and do you think there's any way they could legally lock the building? I mean, you guys have a lease.
I mean, that goes into commercial law, so I mean, they
Who knows?
yeah.
Who knows?
Can't say what they're going to do, that's the thing.
We have no idea.
We're ready to move on.
Yep.
Let's move on to Eileen.
Yes.
Is it
Oh,
me?
I had one more and then we'll,
Would not responding to the FOIA be a triggering to break the lease? Or some interpretation of not fulfilling the FOIA request?
It might be what they're looking at,
Setting it up.
it's a possibility, but again, it's a.
we did respond.
It would get, we did respond timely, and it would be a question for the courts.
All right.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, boy, we get to talk about numbers. Woohoo!
more questions.
Hey.
Aaron, there's another question from John in the back.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired. I can't stay all night, but I want to just set something straight for the record. I'm not here to slander or make judgment on anyone in the county. But the procedure by which we got here, the Board of Supervisors violated several of the Virginia state codes to get there, which simply makes several acts illegal. Now, I keep hearing about they're Catholics, the Catholics brought this in. Religion, I'm not going to talk bad about any religious group out there. They're all entitled to their own opinion. But is this group being sanctioned by the Catholic Church?
We wish.
I'm just throwing it out there because enough is enough. They're going up for wasting taxpayer dollars. There is no end in sight, and they can award anything that they want, and you don't know what they're going to award or how much money they're going to give to those people at the end of the day.
Okay, let's talk about numbers. So up here, what you see is our 2025 fiscal year state aid budget. This is what we have to fill out every year. Erin applies for state aid in the spring, and she gets another piece of paper in, and then we have to do something else and something else. And finally, this comes and it says, this is your award amount, which is the total at the bottom. And then you have to fill in, and there are criteria to what percentages and that kind of thing of the state aid grant you can use this for. So you can see we put this year $121,784 into the collection. That's just state aid. Then we get donations, and we also, if we have something extra, we'll run over that, etc. We're going to come back to this in the numbers. So now I threw something together, and that could be really scary, man. How do I get out of this? There we go, right? Okay, and there I am. Right? Okay, so this is FY 24-25. What is this? I've been looking at numbers all afternoon. So that's the year-to-date, and then the projected, and then our FY 25-26 request. This is a snapshot of a page of the Warren County budget request document they send out in November, December, and we submit in December. And so you can see what we projected. We said we were going to need $1,193,261.85, and it went up that way because they had pulled all the maintenance and all kinds of stuff on us, so it was going to be more money. If you go up to fundraising, we had included that we backed out what we said we would fundraise. We wanted them to see what it really costs to run the library. So we said, we'll trunk 31,000 in. And then we said other funding of 30,000, and that's we draw it from our endowment fund. So anyway, this is what we filled out. And we submitted a memorandum of agreement with it, with that total of $1,193,000. So now let's talk about the memorandum of agreement submissions and the legal timeline. So I'm going to go real quick. 12/2, we submit that partner agency document that I had up a minute ago. 12/10, the supervisors adopted the ordinance creating the new Warren County Library Board. We all remember that long night. 124, Samuels Library filed a petition in Warren County Circuit Court against the Warren County Board of Supervisors, seeking a temporary injunction as a result of the creation of the new ordinance and the Warren County Library Board. Some things were not done correctly. On 128, we met in Circuit Court for an emergency hearing, and the judge ruled harm to the library was not imminent and postponed the hearing to May 2nd, 2025. On 2-5, the attorney for the library filed a non-suit on the original petition. Then they refiled and updated some information on the same day. On 3-4, the Warren County Board of Supervisors vote not to renew the MOA with the library. The vote's all we ever heard. We've never seen anything. On 3/13, the Warren County Board of Supervisors received an unsolicited bid for library services from Library Systems and Services, and it just happened to be addressed to Mr. Eric Belk. Curiouser and curiouser. On 3/31, Samuels Library submitted a new MOA, and we lowered the request for county funding to $1,024,000, which is where we are now, and which is the amount of the unsolicited bid. On 4/4, Warren County released an RFP for library services. After much discussion on 4/9, and this had been going on for a couple weeks with our attorney and everything, it was determined it would be in the overall best interest of the library to withdraw the lawsuit that we had for the May 2nd hearing. At that point, when we filed originally, we were trying to slow down that freight train. I mean, they were going at breakneck speed, and see if we could inject some common sense into all of this. So it just seemed like we were throwing money away to continue the lawsuit. And our board said, yeah, let's stop it. So then when we announced it, it took almost a month to come to agreement with the other attorney. And when we announced it, then all of a sudden there's all these Facebook trolls saying, that we did it because they did something the night before. Give me a break. It was weeks and weeks before. So anyway, can you tell I'm annoyed? So we withdrew, and finally on 4/29, the Warren County Board of Supervisors issued the RFP for the library services. And on 4/29, they approved the Warren County, now I have a date wrong there. On 4/29, they reviewed, what am I missing there, guys? I've got a date wrong, I'm sorry. But the Warren County Library Board asked for a permission to enter into contract negotiations with LS&S on 4/29. That I know is correct. And the next day, and they were given approval, of course, and the next day we received notification from our attorney that the petition had been removed from the docket, so that lawsuit was over. And we believed in the end that that would save us a considerable amount of money in the end that we would put toward what we assume will be future much larger legal actions. So then we get to a comparison between Samuels Library and LS&S, dollars versus cents, for FY26. Try to keep it simple. We asked for $1,024,000. LS&S asked for $1,024,000. I'm using current fiscal year dollars for state aid because I don't know what it is yet for 26. So we put $121,783.75 into collection development. They're saying they'll put $125. Our number will go up by the year end because we put more in as over time. The remainder of the state aid funds amount to $126,781.25. they're saying they'll give $150 more toward a bookmobile or whatever else is needed. So the 126,781 is whatever else is needed. And then, in order to reach what we believe we need to reach, we're willing to put in $245,000 of fundraise money. Now, you want to tell me who's going to give you the better product? It's crystal clear. Yes,
Are
sir.
you saying that we've gone through all of this and the county is going to save $0? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Not only are they going to save $0, it's going to cost the taxpayer more in the end.
Unbelievable.
And they're going to get, I'm sorry, but they will get a lower level of service.
Oh, absolutely.
No doubt about it. So, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Thank you for answering my question.
I mean, it's pretty easy and clear to see that this makes no sense. This makes no sense.
So if we, I didn't get the 150, we're gonna pay the 100, give them 150 for a bookmobile? Or the
No,
county? The county.
no, that's LS&S is saying they were gonna throw that in the pot, and I'm just saying, okay, they can throw their 150 in the pot for whatever it is, but we're gonna put another.
We're putting in 255.
That bookmobile has maintenance issues moving forward, insurance costs, staff.
And they're saying they're gonna flat fund for 5 years or something. Yeah, that's never gonna happen. Yeah, it's never gonna happen.
Just a couple of other things that are not shown on that slide.
Yeah.
In the county's RFP, the county also said that they would take care of building maintenance for the contractor.
Yes.
We're paying for building maintenance. That's another $50,000 a year.
So, our number has to be higher to be able to maintain the building.
And also, those numbers are not including the value of the nearly 10,000 hours a year of
That's right.
volunteer work.
That's right.
And part of this goes,
In the melon grants.
The melon grant?
and part of this goes to profit. Part of this just goes
where does
to
the
the
profit
company.
Yeah, you're not gonna get $1,299,000 worth of service, because they're gonna take their profit off the top of that.
Are they paying utilities?
I
Electric?
don't know what their contract is gonna
Because I
say.
didn't see that in the RFP.
We pay utilities.
They will also not with the volunteers.
Oh, absolutely.
No way.
All the volunteers that won't work for LS&S, raise your hands. Yes, Adele.
Funds from Samuel's Library donations, will that come from the endowment, or what kind of funds do we have that we're going to use?
We have this donor emergency fund that's been newly created and that's growing every day.
That's the one that's 500 and some thousand?
Mhm.
It's going up.
It's going up. And, give yourselves an applause because you all are part of it, We have the endowment fund. We may have to touch that in the year ahead. We hope we won't, but we may have to. But we are also looking at doing a national marketing campaign and about this struggle. And when we've gone national before, donations do tend to pour in. So, who knows? And we're also looking for anyone who's willing to give, has deep pockets, with nothing else to do with their money. But we would entertain any and all. Like I had somebody today who said, what do I need to do to set up my QMD for my, or QMC, for my RMD and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the heck? This is too early for this. And then I figured out they want to give their minimum retirement distribution to us every year. So, that kind of thing is amazing. Yeah.
For the collection, on the LS&S side, for the collection development and the bookmobile or other needs, is that only for FY 2026, or is that for every year of their contract?
1 year.
Okay, so
That's all it
if we
says.
push that out on the
that right?
remaining years, yes.
Yeah, so we'd have to see, what the contract says about future years. Yes.
But this, is this assuming that they're just gonna walk in and
Yes.
they would use the
This has
the
no,
the
this does
collection
not
that's
take into account the lease or the assets.
right, because so then that's really misleading in a way. Their side would be much higher because they have to
Correct.
acquire. Right.
But I'm looking at, the argument was ages ago and has continued to be repeated, doing this, we're gonna save this community hundreds of thousands of dollars each year. You know, give me a break. Does that look like they saved you any money? So we're just looking at it from an operational money standpoint for this comparison, but you're absolutely right. Yes, Kelly?
Okay, so let's say that you keep them out of this building, you hold on to your collection, and they still want to give LNS the $1 billion, LLS. So you hang here and operate as Samuels, and LLS has to start hunting something to do, someplace to be.
I would assume that they are going to be, they're a professional business run by a major corporation.
Yes.
I would think they're going to be looking for some specifics in their contract.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
This may not be something you know, but once they enter into a contract, the public will have to have a hearing on that, right? There's a certain number of days. They can't just enter into a contract without us reading it too.
Cheryl, do you know how that works?
Honestly, I don't know what to tell you because none of this, I feel like is
I was kind of waiting for that.
One of the things I want to say that I think is going to be an outgrowth of this movement, and this is unprecedented, I think, nationally. I don't mean to, be blowing it out of whatever, but we are saying to other communities nationwide who are being assaulted like we have been assaulted, that we're not going to put up with it. And you guys can pack sand, and we're going to show you how a community can fight back and can say it's not going to happen here. And so that's going to be, I think, another outgrowth of what all of us can do together and say, shove it.
Yeah, I will say, I look forward to the day when we have a Board of Supervisors once again that we can work with and negotiate with and have a really good working relationship with. This has only been an issue in the last couple of years, so it's an anomaly and hopefully it will go away. All right, so now.
Question.
Yeah. You take over.
Aaron. I just want to make a comment. I'm new to Front Royal. Came here from Atlanta, Georgia. Had great different choices as far as like where I could live with my mother to be closer to family. We're here because this community is so full of love. And it was so impressive just going and visiting different places. I just have to say, this is a political thing. This is not anything about your competence, okay?
Okay.
So you need a bigger dog in the fight. Right now, Rotary Club, Chamber of Commerce, ante up is all I've got to say because they need someone to defend them. The Board of Supervisors, who's evidently supposed to protect the different institutions, it's starting to make me wonder, what's happening at the schools? What's happening at the fire department? What's happening at the hospital? You know what I mean? Because if they're like doing this to you, oh my gosh, I'm just wondering. And I want to like die here. I want to be here for a long time. I'm just wondering, is this feeling going to be here anymore?
I'll say to you, I've been here a long time. I'm not a lifer like some of you folks in that back row, but I've been here a long time. And it is a wonderful community. This is an aberration, and hopefully we can get past it and get back to what is so special about this place.
And if you don't know about Project 2025, a lot of what I'm hearing you say about that is in that document of what is happening to you. And so if you do not pay attention to that, because they are trying to privatize our prisons, our hospitals, our schools, our libraries, okay? Because that's the model they're thinking, so that, again, you know, whether or not we can have this discussion about is our government too big, but the thing of it is that it's all about people and how you make them feel and support them as a country. And so is this supporting us right now? Like, are you able to do your best for us because you're having to spend all this time on this ridiculousness? No. So somebody help who's not, you know, you're bored, get on it, find a top dog who's like, I don't know, the almighty here. I don't know who these people are, but they need to come and have a conversation with whoever it is that's running this politically and say, not here, like what you've said, but you're not being defended properly. I don't feel like. And so it's not going to be like, I don't think through typical channels. It's going to be a coffee shop conversation where they're going to make a decision to stop going after me.
I'd like to say something. So the Chamber of Commerce, they can't get into politics. That's like the big no-no. They need to stay out of that.
That's what I'm saying. It needs to be a coffee shop conversation. It can be something like, you know, on the record, whatever. But it's starting to create a feeling in the community that is sad.
Everybody's well aware of it in the Chamber. I'm a member. The businesses, they can't really jump into this because if they jump into it, they're cutting off half of their business because it's so intertwined with certain people. So if they start stepping up, people step on their toes and they hurt them financially. And there are people involved in this with such high power connections that if you start calling them out, it brings in even more problems because they have outside external connections with very deep pockets.
Well, anyone with finesse wouldn't call them out. They wouldn't embarrass them in any way. It just needs to be a conversation about what this is doing to the community. And I think if there's enough care, I mean, you know, I don't know, I mean, I think there's just a way to do this without it having to be so official. But it's starting to create like this underlying worry is what I feel, like no matter where I go in the grocery store or the hairdresser or what, but they're talking about it and they're abhorred. And so,
Okay, I'm going to go over fundraising and then some of our funds, but I do want to share one thing. I know, I'm going to share the whole cat. I am a practicing Catholic, and and I go to St. John's, and actually I see, you know, there's a gentleman that's there that's on the Board of Supervisors, there's the people I do see people that are making these decisions at St. John's. I will tell you, it's heartbreaking for me because I almost, I don't want to get emotional, but I've been Catholic all my life and I almost thought about leaving the church. But I went home and I went back to, and I'm from Ohio, and I went home and I went and I saw, we had Mass, and it was a refreshing Mass. It just renewed my spirit that, yes, I'm Catholic, I'm going to keep my beliefs, and that it's men and people that run this church, and you have to remember that not everybody that goes to St. John's feels the way that a certain contingency. So keep that in mind. When you talk about St. John's, again, I am practicing, I go, I see Jameson at 7, you know, I can tell you what Mass everybody goes to. And I hear the sermons. The homilies are not bringing down the library. The homilies are not to tear this apart. The homilies are the opposite. I've heard a homily that says, you know, you reap what you sow. And I'm like, I don't know what they hope to reap from all this. So, and I've heard homilies, you know, to be, you know, in spirit, you know, here, use your, you know, be open, hear, listen. And I don't know what's happening to the people in church beside me. And it's not everybody. So I do want to keep that, I want everybody to keep that in mind. It's not the entire Catholic Church. I'm not part of this email group, that's a special group or whatever, I'm not part of it. But I do want people to know that I am a practicing Catholic, so it's not the entire St. John's Church. So anyway, okay, so the fundraising. We've had a lot of great fundraising lately. Day of Giving was phenomenal, $21,437. We had a silver March tea a silver tea in March that brought in $56,000. And then our fantastic Taste of Books brought in $33,000. And I don't know who all attended the Taste of Books, but what I loved about the Taste of Books, it was not a hate fest about what was going on. It was a party and a celebration of the library.
Yep.
And I hope everybody felt that when they were here. It was not a big, it wasn't a bashing party, it was a celebration of what we have here. So I want to, so I wanted to let everybody know I had a great time.
The band was awesome.
The band was awesome, it was. I come with the Randolph-Macon Interact team, the group, and the boys loved it. Even though Sydney was trying to sell them like some kind of candy cigarettes, and I know like that's not the picture I want to get back. Anything from the library, but hey, don't let that picture get back to the Randolph-Macon folks. Okay, so where does all this go? So there's all been a lot of questions about mixing of funds and how our funds are distributed. So I wanted to put a slide together to kind of try to help understand where our funds go. These are our main accounts. The operating account, this is where our county and state funding goes. This is where the FOSO donation goes. And this is where the interest from our endowment account, the larger accounts. So this is the operating account. So when you see our financials on a bi-monthly when we present them, this is the account that you're seeing. That blue and I think it's color-coded blue and tan, that's what's happening in the operating account. That's the money coming in and the expenses. So those are the things that go into that funnel. They don't go anyplace else. The next one is our reserve account. We have a reserve account that includes different kinds of donations. Are they restricted donations?
Usually unrestricted.
Usually unrestricted. So, and again, we've always had a reserve account. Not huge, but we have a reserve account. Now the most exciting news is that we do have this donor emergency fund. So we've had great donations. This is the one that's the new one for over $500,000. So it's invested in tiered CDs, so it's very low risk. We have easy access. We can get this in 24 hours. We have a 4% expected earnings on it, and it's to carry us through resolution until resolution can be made. I'm holding out hope that we can get to a resolution. In my mind, in my optimistic view, they haven't said they're going to not fund us completely. So we have some hope, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too optimistic. So anyway, so that's the three main accounts. Any question on that? Okay. Then we have our endowment account. Now I think this was a point of contention a year and a half ago, but it was started with the proceeds of Samuel's Public Inc. owned, and they're supposed to be building under that, sorry. But that's what it was started with, but it wasn't $1 million at that time. It was, I think, a couple $100,000 or 100, so it was we've invested well, we work with Truist Bank, we get audited, so it has grown. So this one is our big account. I believe it's almost $1 million, of course, with the latest market trends. It's been going up and down. But this is the account that we can draw interest from, that number that Eileen was showing earlier. It's the interest from this account. I think we use 3%. Basically, we pull that in every year to subsidize our expenses. And the principle of this account, that $1 million, is the purpose of an endowment is to keep it's a long-term survivability of the library. So we do have that. Like as Eileen said, we don't want to dip into it. We don't want to go there, but if we have to, we may have to do that depending on where we go. We also have a C. Huber endowment account. It's a lot smaller. This was started by a donation by C. Huber. When he passed, he wanted to donate some money to the library, so we have an endowment account from there. And again, this is another interest is used to subsidize. And then we have the Mellon Grant Fund. Now the Mellon Grant, if you guys all remember, in 2024, we got a $500,000 Mellon Grant. It was used to create the makerspace, the studio, and continue our phenomenal record preservation we have here. We have it invested in CD and savings account, and all interest has to stay within that fund. We have to report that fund back to the Mellon, and we cannot use any of that money for anything else but the intended purpose of that grant. I think everybody understands that. Okay, any questions on these?
Question?
Yes.
What if Brand X gets in here?
Can they get that money?
No,
No.
they
These are
can't get
considered
any
our
of
assets.
this.
They can't touch any of our financial and our assets. Yeah. And, okay, and then the next one we have is a community foundation accounts. We set, I'm sorry.
Just a real quick question, I may be naive about this. Does Brand X have meetings like this that we can attend?
I doubt it.
What? I've
Yeah.
corporate video. Why would you spell all this stuff out publicly? I know it's interesting to all of us. We're having an interest, and I'm not trying to be adversarial here, but
So why are we spelling this out?
This is your game plan.
Yes, because we're nonprofit.
I understand
Yeah.
all that, but if I were your opponent in any field, this would be a gold mine of information.
But we're transparent.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll give you some some context.
But we're not invited into their business.
No, but we're nonprofit and we're here for the community.
Right.
I can tell you, before all this started, we came, the board would get together and we were talking about what do we need next? And it was like, okay, what are we gonna do? We wanna build an amphitheater. And then we got hit with all this. I don't know how my fellow board members vote. I don't care. Because when we all get together for a Board of Trustees meeting, it's about what we can do, to raise funds, to make sure we're viable for the long term, to whatever the community wants. So I can't tell you how any of these people vote. We don't care. When we get together, we talk the library and what we can do here. And I think there's been some question, or there's like, okay, we just don't want there to be any concern or question that we're hiding anything.
And this information's always been available. You could have always found it on their website or called to ask.
Yeah, I totally agree with
Yeah.
transparency and all government stuff.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. And I think there's been some question about we mix funds together and like, where's all this going? So we wanted to say, here's where our funds are. Okay?
I think the greater question with this gentleman had right here is that you're under assault, and you're still trying to act like a good partner. Thank you very much.
Less fuel for the fire, right?
Gotta take close up at a certain point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That is a good point. Yeah.
Not fighting fair.
Now, I will tell you, and I will
We have meetings at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and I will say, we did, a couple of years ago, we did present we went in front of the Board of Supervisors with our savings. Do you remember that meeting? The Red Solo Cup meeting. And the question that we got was, well, why would we give you money when you have all this? And so that's when we really okay, let's really think about this and what we, and so that's when we're like, okay, we need this for our hence where we are today. We need this to survive for now, and we're hoping to get more with other funds.
Might I just add, that's a very good point, but what's happened is, as a citizen of this county, paying taxes, even though I'm one of those Fairfax people who live here to I pay taxes. I think if anything was done without transparency and absolute respect to you, Mrs. Cullors, I don't know how you do it. Members of that board have done such, I'm from Brooklyn, I won't say it, such to the citizens of this council, the majority of us who are sitting here right now.
Handshake deals.
Absolutely, you could see it. You could see the disrespect, I call it disdain, when they decided not to fund the library. They didn't even look at us anyway. So I'm just saying, you're absolutely right. But at the moment, we have to stay right. Because no one knows what we do in this country, and I'm not really. So please.
One more point.
Yeah.
Is there a national, I would assume there's a national movement, Project 25, and the Heritage Foundation has a hand in all of the assaults on all of the public libraries and school boards and everything that's public on a general basis. They have any, is there any possibility, if there's a lawyer or an army of lawyers, is there a RICO thing that's going on? Is there any sort of laws that provide for a RICO establishment?
There are a lot of organizations out there that provide pro bono lawyer work for situations like this, and a lot of national lawsuits for, I mean, like there's a lot of libraries that are going through certain issues similar to what we did that are in lawsuits at the moment. It's every state's different. They're all going through different things. You're seeing stuff on the internet as far as like bills getting passed. And again, there's lawsuits. Even the publishers are getting involved in some of the lawsuits. So we are not an isolated community. So there's.
What I'm saying, this feels like a national assault on censorship, on First Amendment rights, on libraries and schools. There must be a coordinated attack, and it's well-funded, obviously, from the right, from the Heritage Foundation. Is there something of equal power coming up from the First Amendment people?
Not that I'm aware, but I always recommend people going online to see, because usually they'll have articles out as far as any lawsuits that are going on nationally at that level. But as far as I am aware, not quite what you're describing at the moment that I'm aware of.
There are some nonprofit law. There's some nonprofit law firms that focus on First Amendment rights, and
are we in touch with those folks?
We are, but you have to be at a certain crisis level. And right now we're doing a day-to-day engagement, trying to fight back. So they're out in the wings and they're watching, and I don't know what it takes what line it is you cross for them to come in, but there are a number of we've talked to a couple of different nonprofit legal firms that do that kind of thing. Let's move on. Adele has a question.
The Mellon grant.
Yes.
What, the strings attached to that, have they been made aware of?
Yes, they are fully aware.
They are fully aware. That's all I want to say.
Yes, Aaron's in communication with them.
We are not unique in your world.
Unfortunately, they know. Yeah. Okay, and then the final is the community foundation accounts that we've had for years. These are small accounts, but we have an endowment part and a savings. And again, we've received numerous gifts and grants from others who participate in the community foundation. And it's unrestricted, and again, we can pull interest from this account. So it's small, but
We get grants. We get grants because we belong to it.
Okay, yeah, we get grants because we belong to this. So we will always have this, okay? So, any other questions on the finances? Okay. Kate is going to go over audit. We have a clean audit right now.
I have an audit right now.
Yeah, good
It's
point.
clean.
I did not do any slides. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And I'll try to not bore everyone to death. Auditing is not, oh, sure. Auditing is not everyone's favorite topic. I might be alone there. But we thought it would be good to share some information about it, since it isn't everyone's favorite topic. In the past year, certain members of the Board of Supervisors have focused heavily on transparency and oversight of Samuel's Library. Assuming that is their real concern, we thought it would be good to explain more about the financial oversight the library has each year from its independent auditors. The library has had a long history with Yount, Hyde, and Barber. I'm going to call it YHB because the other is really hard to say. It's a reputable regional CPA firm that specializes in nonprofit entities. When performing an audit, a CPA firm will issue an opinion at the conclusion of their work. If there are no material misstatements in the audit, the firm will issue what is called a clean opinion. That's what we have. We've had clean opinions every year since inception, probably, since we've been required to have an audit or since we've chosen to have an audit. Our history of having those clean audit opinions reflects the library's commitment to financial accuracy. Our willingness to post all of our financial data on our website reflects our commitment to transparency and as a nonprofit. Tonight we just wanted to tell you a little bit more about the audit process so you understand that commitment a little bit more. So the external auditors, they come in annually and they might do some interim field work
mid-year, just before year end. But they will submit long lists of requests to the staff here, and we will hand over volumes of data. And from that point, that's a starting point. They will then choose samples. They will provide additional requests and request all of the supporting documentation, much like a FOIA type thing, but all in the current year, or all with regards to any contracts that have been entered into, any new agreements, any donor agreements that have been signed, anything like that. All of that is subject to testing by the auditors. There's a number of different audit procedures that they apply. One thing that they do is we prepare audit confirmations, and we have to type it up. We have to allow them to request these confirmations, but they will confirm every bank balance. They will confirm any debt balance. They will send confirm any specific agreements or any terms. If we had any accounts receivable, they would confirm those. They might select to confirm some accounts payable to check those procedures. But that takes a lot of time for our staff to do. And then the auditors send those out so that they're independent, and they find out if our records agree with what our vendors say. You can think back to when we had debt agreements back related to providing the furniture for here and with the sale of Villa Ave. All of that was probably confirmed back there. And someone signed off on it from the county, and it was all determined to be acceptable documentation. So that's an instance of some of the audit procedures that they do. So there's sampling, there's confirmations, there's analytic procedures. All of these types of procedures, they'll come back and ask more questions and more questions, so that you're hated eventually as an auditor. I've been there. But it's all to make sure that they have proper evidence to say that we have clean financial records. And that's the most important thing. And so we do whatever they ask, and we make sure that they have all of the information that they need to opine on our financial records. One thing that they do, like I mentioned earlier, they will inspect records and documents. They will inspect all of those agreements. They will inspect all of the purchase documentation for assets like furniture, fixtures, construction, bathroom renovations that we just did. They'll make sure that they're properly valued on our financial statements, that we have the rights to those assets before they're listed on our financial statements, that our liabilities for such things are complete and we've recorded the whole liability on our financials. So a lot of that comes about during the audit procedures that they do. They also will inspect assets. They'll walk around the facility. They'll make sure that we have major purchases. They'll probably walk through Studio 330. I'm sure they're going to look at a lot of those major assets and make sure that those were purchased with, with the grant money and properly in tune with the grant agreements. So then there's other things like recalculation and reperformance, where they'll sit beside whoever's doing payroll, sit beside whoever is reporting cash receipts, and make sure that the procedures that we say are being done are actually being done, and making sure that our internal controls are solid. So all of this goes into an audit, and it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time, but we know as a board, and the staff know, how important it is for us to feel good about those numbers and to know that they are recorded properly. Both Samuels and Warren County have undergone audits for many years, dating back many years, even to back when Villa Avenue was sold and the Chrysler Road facility was built. I have confidence that the auditors for both entities examined and tested the agreements and transactions regarding those facilities and found sufficient audit evidence to say that the assets were properly recorded or not recorded on each other's financial statements. So our assets are our assets. Our assets are not on the books of the county. Otherwise, they wouldn't be asking us for documentation about it. They don't have any of that documentation because they're not their assets. So I have faith that the auditors did their work. I know that the county's last year financial statements are still not complete. I'm not sure what that's related to, but they're much more complex than this. So, but I have confidence that our assets are properly in our name. We have the rights to those. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, audit lady. Listen, I was taking math in high school and stuff, and in college. Let me just say this. Why can't we, let us just audit the board and the other library board and see if their numbers add up. I don't look up assets or any of that. Let's just calculate. We can all add, I'm sure, and subtract. We don't need no CPA degrees for that. But I'm just saying, let's just audit them. Let's do that. And see what their numbers come up with. And then if they don't have a clean record, as you say, then they need to step aside. That's what I want to say.
Yes.
Line by line.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a two-part question. You said independent auditor several times.
Yes.
How is the auditor chosen? And then my second question is there a retention timeline for the audit results?
I'm going to lean on Eileen a little bit. I don't know how often we go out to bid.
We haven't been out to bid in years. We have a long-term relationship with IHB. It takes so much time, because the library is such a unique animal, to bring, and nonprofit auditors are getting scarcer and scarcer. They're the best. They're hard. And so we're happy with them. They're thorough. They know how the library books work, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel every year. So it saves us money in the long run on the audit. What was the other part of the question?
Is there a retention timeline for, like, can you pull an audit back from 15 years ago?
I can.
Yeah, the financial statements, the detailed transactions that supported that audit would be harder to accumulate and wouldn't be subject to the record retention guidelines that a lot of firms recommend. But the reports, yes.
Yeah, I think it's important to know too, that we're audited every year, and it gives the board peace of mind, the citizenry peace of mind, but it's a requirement to receive state aid that you have a full-on audit. You have to submit your audit before they'll even consider your state aid request. So, thank you.
And just going back to your independence question, I do say that they're external, they're independent. The guidelines for CPA firms require them to be independent, and they will police themselves for their own benefit of their own longevity of the firm. So they would not jeopardize their licenses by operating if they didn't feel that they were independent in relationship, or because they had worked with us for so long. And I've had other entities that we have separated with, or with CPAs, because it just felt like we were a little too close, and we did go out for bid. And it was mutual on both sides. So CPA firms do police that themselves, but also the AICPA does police it as well, and they would be subject to sanctions.
One of the things they do, and the staff is like, oh my God. We have to, in this world today, you have to use credit cards. So Erin has a credit card in the name of the library, and I do as well. And they come to me to use it. And it's loaded on certain accounts, so things are automatically charged. I get the statement. I have to pull all the detail, reconcile it, I don't care if it's a $4 receipt, you better find that sucker. Because they go through every credit card statement, and if there's a missing receipt, it's in the write-up. So they're pretty picky. Even after all these years.
It's a high
And
standard.
I want
The other thing about auditors is that usually there's a partner in charge to oversee the process, and then the people change from year to year often because they're bringing in younger, not newbies, but so you're not seeing the same people necessarily on a day-to-day basis that are doing the actual audit work, but you'll have a partner that oversees the whole process. So that it helps to add to their independence.
And every CPA firm also has to go through something called a peer review, and that means another audit firm will come in and sample their audits and review it to make sure that they have done the appropriate amount of work to support their opinions and that they are independent. So there's other procedures like that to keep the procedures honest, really.
No, thank you. My question was more to the point of you guys are overseen by an independent outside source, and you can pull those audit reports to present at any point in time.
And they're on the website.
The last 18 years.
The 990s are on the website, and the auditor's financial statements are on the website.
Okay. All right, we're gonna hold that. We're gonna move on to the next thing. I don't want to run out of time. But we will get your question. Okay, Sydney?
Hello, friends. How are we all doing? I will try to move it along quickly. All right, I am Sydney. I am the president-elect of the Friends of Samuel's Library, or FOSSL. FOSSL was established in 1994. We actually started out as an advocacy group because we had a leaky roof and we had potential funding issues with the county. So FOSSL encouraged the members of Warren County to talk to their representatives and express how much the library meant to them. And eventually things worked out. FOSSL then started to raise money through memberships. They were meager at first, but helped fund the little extras that the library needed. Once the Kreiser building, which we are all sitting in right now, opened, FOSSL's purpose became filling all the new space with programming and activities. In response to that, memberships grew and we were able to provide more asks from the library. In 2017, FOSSL started the management of the donation-based, volunteer-run bookstore called Epilogue, which you can see right out there. It's the cute little hut. Epilogue became an even bigger fundraiser and provided the ability to offer more substantial support to Samuel's Public Library. But in 2023, we shifted again. And now, more than ever, FOSSL is a multi-pronged entity. We have a record number of memberships with aspirations of hitting 250 this year, which all of you can help with. If you're not a FOSSL member, go out there and join us, and let's see if we can hit 300, because that'd be great. We are breaking sales records with our annual book sale and Epilogue itself. We've responded to members' requests by adopting online and automatic renewal on our memberships. We have joined social media and still advocate for the library, highlighting the long list of benefits it provides to Warren County. We still sponsor programming, and we are still set up to assist with volunteer hours whenever they are needed, like, for example, this event. I could go through a long list of items that we've helped purchase and give to the library, from an awning above the staff door so our librarians don't get wet when they come in, to a self-checkout machine, and even a county-wide postcard during the first go-round of this. But the point is that we've been here for 30 years as a love letter and a best friend to the library. Through community support, we've given more than $185,000. We promise at least $20,000 of additional aid every year to Samuels. We are small, but we are adaptive. Honestly, before all this, not many people knew the difference between Fossil and Samuels. Actually, that's still a problem. We have our own independent 501c, we have our own board, and a lovely logo. But we consider it a compliment to be confused with such an amazing staff and like to think that it shows our dedication and professionalism. But we stand beside Samuels Public Library as a show of extra community support. We are just one of the ways that the community shows that they believe the library deserves additional funding and offer their volunteer hours to help fulfill its mission. We are the Friends of Samuels Library, and that is an honor that we do not take lightly. Although we really do try to be the lighthearted, silly BFF that everyone needs. Which is why you may have seen outside that we have a cute little table, and now I'm going to ask one of them to stand up. Fossil and Samuels right now is doing a competition to see which shirt you guys like better. I am partial to Friends because we are libraries and friends with benefits.
Yeah, but we have a song in our heart, so we'll be there for you.
And if you get the library shirt, I think you should make them sing it to you, just as a perk. But you guys are able to help weigh in on this at the table outside, or you can visit the Epilogue bookstore and get them, but they're gonna be fun and they're gonna be a hot item. There's only 200, so get them before they're gone. But before my closing, I do want to say one little thing. Friends is here for Samuels. We were specifically set up for Samuels. We, through you guys, end up giving $20,000 a year. And we will not do that for another company. We are the Friends of Samuels. So anyone who thinks that any of us are going to go in and do this for a for-profit company, no, absolutely not. We give our hearts, our souls to this because we love this place. But in closing, without Samuels and without you, the community, we are nothing. But all of us together are truly a powerhouse. So thank you for supporting Samuels and for being our friend.
Had to put me on.
Does anybody else think it's unfair that I'm on after Sydney?
Unfair.
I'm here to do a testimonial, but I'm looking at all the faces out here, and I think all of you know volunteerism is essential. I've been a volunteer at Samuels Library since 2009. On the board for 6 years, in 2009 for 6 years after that, and I then decided I couldn't stay home, so I went on the board of Fossil after I was told I couldn't stay on the board for the library because my term had run out. So I was on Fossil's board for 6 years and enjoyed it very much. And then at the end of 6 years Fossil time, I had to come off because you're not allowed to stay on longer than 6 years. So I thought, what the heck? I'll go back on the library board. So that's where you'll find me today, on the library board. Now, it may happen that at the bylaws have been changed, so I can stay on the library board for a total of 9 years. So I've got about, probably four more years left on the library board. I just may have to go on the Fossil board and off the library board. So just consider,
volunteer. Not only am I on the board, but I volunteer on the library floor every Monday pulling holes and putting books away. I volunteer every Thursday in Fossil. And Fossil's the bookstore, Epilogue. I'm like a bad penny. I keep turning up. So I would say to you, I do this because this is a fabulous place. And I can't help myself. Sometimes my husband wonders what I look like. I'm gone so much. So please, volunteer, support the library. It's worth it. The library deserves it. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to volunteer and to be a part of the Board of Trustees. It's very important to me, and I invite you to express how important it is to you, to the powers that be.
You're up, Scott.
I told Melody I only needed 3 to 5 minutes, so she put me at the end. I don't think she trusted me to stay to 5 minutes. I'll do my best. But I'm Scott Jenkins. I joined the Board of Trustees not quite a year ago, July last year. And my background has been in management. My professional career, I've spent 33 years managing and leading high-performing teams, building high-performing teams. I know how to recognize a strongly performing group and a dysfunctional group. And I can tell you, I've been very impressed in the 10.5 months I've been with Samuel's Library Trustees. This is a high-performing team. You know, we all want the best for our children. You know, we always want the best education, the best opportunities, the best that we can give them. And I think as a community, we want the best library that we can possibly have. And I think if you look at the team that is delivering library services here, we've got a dedicated staff of 24 full and part-time employees, staff people. They're incredible, the way they work together, every single person. Melody talked about a smile on their face no matter the stresses that we're all under right now. But they're all focused on one thing, and that is serving the community the best that they possibly can and working together to do that. We've got a veritable army of volunteers. How many of you are volunteers? Yeah, our volunteers are on track to deliver 10,000 hours of service this year.
Almost 100. There's almost 100 volunteers.
Yeah, it's incredible. Fossil. Sydney talked about all the work that Fossil does. Fossil enhances the programs that we offer, raises money, brings a vibrant sense of humor and fun to the environment. And our patrons, we've got over 16,000 patrons. And most of you in the room, I'm going to say, if I asked for how many of you are patrons, probably every hand would go up. All of our patrons are engaged regularly. We have whole families that come in here together. We have people that use different services. We have people who are using the online databases and services. It's incredible how engaged everybody is working together. And we have a very, very strong board of trustees. We'll soon be up to full complement with 15. We have 2 new trustees joining us in July, representing all 5 magisterial districts, coming from lots of different backgrounds, professionally, socially, culturally, geographically. You know, we all live here, but many come from other places. And so it's a very diverse group that has lots of skills and talents. That's our team. All of us together are a team working to fulfill the vision of having the best library that we can possibly have for our community. And it shows. You don't create a team like that overnight. It's taken decades. Melody talked about 50 years in the public-private partnership and 200 years of history and legacy building up to this point where we're recognized. And I'll just briefly go over some of the awards. And I'm going to read a little bit of this because there's so many awards that we've received in the last 7 months. In March, the Virginia Library Directors Association, it's a peer group, recognized Samuels with the Silver Standards of Excellence Award for our overall achievements. And an Impactful Marketing and Public Relations Award, given in recognition of the forums like this one that we've been holding for the last several months to keep people informed, to give you an opportunity to ask questions, to learn more, to share ideas. We benefit from this as much as you do. Outstanding Program for Adults Award, recognition of taste for books. That's the best party in town. Absolutely, without a doubt, it's the best party in town. And the Impactful Technology Use Award for Studio 330. Studio 330 is a game changer for us. It really is. It enhances the service offerings that we have in so many different ways, and it enables people to come in and get hands-on experience with different technologies that we couldn't have even thought of or dreamed of a few years ago. Aaron, I'm going to quote you for just a minute in your response to those award recognitions that we got in March. And she said, "This is all due to the amazing work of our dedicated staff, our host of volunteers and community partners, all of us working together. They make these awards possible. Our libraries play a crucial role in their communities, and these awards help highlight some of the ways that we engage and serve our patrons. It's an opportunity to reflect on how our libraries fit into and enrich our communities in diverse and significant ways." Thank you for that. In October last year, the Virginia Library Association designated Samuels as the Library of the Year in Virginia. And Fossil, the Friends of Library, was recognized as the Friends Organization of the Year for the work that Fossil does. And Melody was recognized as the Trustee of the Year. She's our chief spokesperson and our head cheerleader, and she keeps the rest of us energized and engaged. Thank you. That's a team. Now, a few facts. We deliver over 500 homegrown programs per year. And I say homegrown because we're a community organization. The programming that's offered by this library is tailored, it's conceived and tailored and delivered to the community, for the community, by the community. If you have an idea of something that you want to share with others, this is a great forum to do it. Over 500 programs a year are delivered here for children, students, adults, across the spectrum of the whole community. Most of our funding comes locally, either through county appropriations, donations. We do get a significant input from the state and a little bit of federal money, but the vast majority of our funding comes local. And when we spend money, it stays local in the community. The salaries that we pay, our staff live here, they're our neighbors. So it pays rents, it pays mortgages, it pays bills. When we hire contractors to do work here, we go out of our way to find qualified local contractors to work with them. We keep things local, we support local businesses. Even when we pay our utility bills, our water, our sewer, our electric bills are paid to the town of Front Royal. That money stays here. So when we get donations, when we get county appropriations, that money is reinvested into the community, and it helps build and strengthen our community. Contrast that with a for-profit company, the profits come right off the top, go right out of the community. Another portion of their operating expenditures are going for centralized staff, going right out of the community. A much smaller fraction of what goes to a private company stays in the community. Almost everything that we spend stays in the community. So that's important to note. Wow, think about all that. Now here in 2025, we're locked into, it seems like a never-ending battle with the county. It's been said, I've heard that some of the supervisors consider Samuels ungovernable. That's the term that was used, ungovernable. Don't mind the awards, the services, community support were ungovernable. So let's unpack that for a minute. What does it mean to be ungoverned or to be governed by Warren County Board of Supervisors? And I'm not picking on any one supervisor. Cheryl, no disrespect. I strongly, she and I know each other pretty well. I strongly support everything Cheryl does. And she's been the one consistent, sane voice for responsible government, responsible budgeting, and financial management. What are we getting by this current Board of Supervisors that's governing us? 429 unanswered calls by Fire Station 1 last year. I'm not blaming the fire chief for that. They're doing the best they can, shuffling with inadequate resources to do the best job that they can. But they missed 429 emergency services calls because there wasn't somebody there to answer the phone. We get sheriff's deputies that don't have bulletproof vests. We get sheriff's department and public works vehicles that are long past due to be replaced. Long past due. Many of the public works trucks have got over 200,000 miles on them. High maintenance costs for that. We get high turnover from our teachers, our EMS, and our law enforcement employees, because we don't pay competitive salaries. And they can go elsewhere and make more money, and they deserve to. We get emergency funds depleted because the county doesn't have any sense of how to maintain buildings and how to set aside money for replacement of important critical components like HVAC systems. So when they break, they have to count on reserve funds to pay for that because they haven't budgeted and planned for it. We got stagnant economic development. I can go into a lot of detail with that. I've got good insights, having spent 3 years with the Economic Development Authority Board. There's a small business loan program there that lies dormant. We worked very hard to get that re-energized, but then the county pulled its support for the EDA. They don't have any income. The EDA has no staff. The county had been supporting with staff and as a fiscal agent. They pulled all that support a year ago. The county also stopped paying its portion of loan payments for the construction of Leech Run Parkway. The town stopped its payments several years ago. The county last year pulled the plug on its contributions. So you have an incompleted Leech Run Parkway project, and you have banks who...
in 5 minutes.
I'll be quick. And you have banks that want to be repaid, and the EDA doesn't have money to repay them. So that reflects on the county. And I could go on with EDA. We have an inadequate water supply. And I know that's been a hot topic for the last few years, recognizing that we have inadequate municipal water to support growth. The town and the county can't seem to work together to get that resolved. And we have an unstaffed Director of Tourism and Economic Development position, county staff position, that hasn't been filled. Interviews were held, candidates were reviewed, and then everything was put on hold. And you have to ask, why was that? Is there some other motive for why that position wasn't filled when economic development is such a crucial need.
We heard all about it last night at the Board of Supervisors.
I'm sure you did. Yeah. So with all of that, you know, just a couple quick closing questions. Is it really in the community's best interest for Samuel's Library to be governed by this current Warren County Board of Supervisors? Do you really trust this Board of Supervisors to deliver a better set of library services than the Samuels team? No. We deserve the best. What the supervisors are offering is not the best. We deserve better.
We're getting kicked out.
We are getting kicked out. Come on.
Which is
Why are we doing this? All right, we have time for a couple questions. I do want to let you know that Amy will shoot me if I don't let you know that there's some forms over on the table. We'd love to have your testimonials about how you feel about the library, how you interact with the library. And then on the second page, we're starting a new newsletter. It's in a Substack, if anyone knows what a Substack is. I'm learning. It's called Next Chapter News, and you can sign up for it on that too. And in that particular newsletter, different than the one the library sends out, will be the press releases and the updates, Q&As, so that all of the challenges and all of the current information can be in one place. If you need to tell somebody you don't understand what's going on with the library, go to this Substack account and it'll all be right there. So we encourage you to sign up for that and give us your testimonials. All right, somebody had a question. You.
I'd actually like to take a minute to address this group if that's allowed.
Sure.
I'm gonna step up there so the camera can see me if that's okay. My name is Hugh Henry. I'm currently running for the 4th District Board of Supervisors. I am a lifelong resident. No offense to you that are new here. Only thing I can say is what took you so long to get here. So, there's a couple things I need to say because the election process is a lot different. I want everybody to understand it completely. Our current board has been infiltrated by a small group. The lady that spoke earlier had indicated that they kind of hide behind the Catholic flag, but they're not really good Catholics. They also behind the Republican flag. And I can tell you as running as a Republican nominee, they're not that either. I can promise you that. They are power hungry. This is not the only group that's been attacked. I will give Samuels credit for putting up the most fight for the longest amount of time. It is unbelievable how hard this group has fought. This small group, and I'll go ahead and name names even though they say it's not politically correct. If you, Tom McFadden Sr., John Lombard.
Don't get us in trouble.
Candidate Hugh Henry saying it, not Samuels Library, for the record. Dr. Jameson, the old way they used to pick a candidate was at a Republican committee, and it was a group just like this, and this group has infiltrated our local Republican committee, and they used to just do a show of hands vote, and they had all intentions of blocking me as a candidate by using that tool, and they did it in the past is how they have seized power of our current board.
Library is now closed.
I'll hurry through, I promise. The primary is a new process, and it took that power away from them. They're furious. They've got lawsuits against it and everything else. So consequently, every voter, registered voter in the 4th District, gets to pick that Republican candidate. I'm in an 80% Republican district. There is no Democratic candidate. There is no independent candidate. There could be one that comes out but they're probably not going to win in an 80% district. This primary is the election. They have picked a prop candidate that he is probably a nice kid, but he is simply a tool. He has created a lot of false narratives with data centers and other fake news things to take the attention away from this group and many others that are in the same trouble. We may not align with everybody in here politically, but I do understand the difference between right and wrong. I can tell you this TAC is a fake attack. It has nothing to do with any of this budget stuff. It is purely a power grab. The only way to beat this is the primary is started now for early voting. The actual election day is June 17th. Energize everyone you know in the Fort District and the Happy Creek District to come vote in June. If you wait till November, it will be too late. The election is in June for those that don't understand that. It's the only way we'll be able to get the control back. I hope and pray that this is all still here and my vote will count in January to save it. I'm sure with Ms. Cullors and Mr. Carter. So it's not just me. You've got to get Happy Creek on board too. And it's 2 elections and they're big. So please come out and vote, and we could do something about this in January.
Just so that you know, that was his personal comments. As a nonprofit library, we are not advocating for any candidates. We do encourage you to do your own research, and we do encourage you to participate in elections, and we appreciate everybody's enthusiasm.
Yes. We do have information about the general elections that you may have seen our display out front that has all candidates, all the different ballots for each of the different districts. So if anybody has any questions, we do have contact information for our registrar's office for this area, as well as some other, like I said, general election info. So we're more than happy to answer questions on that. But one more question, and unfortunately we are close at this point. So
I want to make just a quick comment, and I hope it's somewhat of an inspiration. When I walk through the door and you make a left-hand turn, there's glass panels there, and they have a list of names on them. And I want to assure you, I call that panel of names the Pride Board. And I say that because there's not one name on that board that I know for a fact is not proud of this library. I guarantee it. There's actually 200, I've roughly counted real quick. Wow. There's 206 donors on that board. And what I can say about those donors is they are nonpartisan and they're all multi-denominational. Yep. There is no differentiation there. And I can tell you that I'm proud that my name's on that board, my company's name. But I just want you to know there's not one person on that board that would literally question your all's integrity. I guarantee it. There is no doubt in my mind. And I just want you to keep up the good work, and we're going to fight it as long as we can.
Thank you all for coming, and if there are any further questions, reach out to us.